Welcome back to another session on my Caribbean and Latin American news channel. Thank you so much for joining. And we are today's Vlogmas, I understand. So I'm going to do my Vlogmas, whatever that is. Now, US gives Maduro final warning. Washington threatens strike on Venezuela. Now, welcome to Vlogmas on Caribbean and Latin American News Network. The United States has issued a final ultimatum to Venezuela's Nicolás Maduro: step down or face the fire. What does this mean for the Caribbean and Latin America? Could this push the region into closer war with Venezuela and sanctions or instability? And how will Caribbean nations respond as tensions rise? Now, CLANN breaks it down, unfiltered and region focused, because our people deserve to understand what is happening in the geopolitical realm. Now, we understand that President Trump has issued a final ultimatum, final warning to President Nicolás Maduro of Venezuela that he should demit office and to leave the country with his wife and family. That is the latest that is being reported by some major news network, including the Guardian newspaper, the Trinidad Guardian. And it says here a tense phone call last week between the White House and Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro offered the embattled leader one final deal: resign immediately, leave Venezuela with his wife and son, and receive safe passage, or face the full force of an expanding U.S. campaign targeting what Washington has labeled a narco-terrorist regime. According to U.S. media reports, the call, repeatedly brokered by Brazil, Qatar, and Turkey, collapsed almost instantly. Maduro demanded global amnesty, control of the armed forces, and time to renegotiate an exit, conditions Washington rejected outright. Now, that to me is reasonable, what Nicolás Maduro is offering, putting on the table, that he wants or he demanded global amnesty, control of the armed forces, and time to negotiate an exit. I don't see anything wrong with that, do you? I think that this is particularly reasonable. There are some reasonable requests and demands. Days later, President Donald Trump stunned the region by declaring Venezuelan airspace closed in its entirety, warning airlines, drug traffickers, and human smugglers that the order required immediate attention. In Venezuela, the statement was widely interpreted as a signal that land operations could begin imminently. And there are some people here on this platform who are suggesting, oh, we're seeing flights and they're going and coming. And so it means all is well. Now, when you hear a storm is coming, a hurricane is coming, not because you're not seeing the clouds, the dark clouds, the ominous clouds being encircled across the country, doesn't mean that the storm is not coming. Sometimes it comes like that. In the twinkling of an eye, it comes. It comes unawares when we're least expecting it to happen. So we need to prepare ourselves psychologically, physically, the best way we can, because how do you prepare yourself for a war? Okay? But we need to do what we can. And what we don't need to do is to overreact, nor do we need to if that's the word, react. And some people are doing that. They are underestimating US threats. I wouldn't do that. Because when I look at history, I see a history in which the United States has made a lot of threats. Sometimes it takes years before it accomplishes what it wants. And I've suggested before, Iraq is one of such example, right? That the United States for years had her eyes on that country. And they'd written the project for the new American century, in which Iraq was one of the countries that they wanted out. Just go online and perhaps it's under a different name, under a different title. But the project for the new American century, if you read that document, and I read it years ago, and you will learn that the United States and all these countries that it's now warring with had already laid out, fleshed out that document, the groundwork from the 1990s. Iraq, Iran, well, Iran has not been taken out yet. Syria, okay, Yemen, Libya, all of these countries were mentioned, and Venezuela, all of these countries were mentioned in the document. Okay? And if you notice that these countries that have mentioned, and China, all these countries, they have, the United States believes that if it is going to have, if it's going to achieve full spectrum dominance, it needs to have and control over these regions. Very important that you understand that. We saw when Trump came into power, oh, we want that, the Panama Canal. And we want China to get her butt out of here. Okay, and that is how the United States behaves. Okay, because she is, as we have suggested, on many occasions, a militarized empire. Now, some of you are suggesting, why are you on the side? I am not on the side of the United States of America. Not by any stretch of the imagination. Not by any stretch of the imagination. What I'm here to suggest, however, is that some of you think that your Black ideology, by just having that you are Black and your Pan-Africanist is going to make the United States fumble and fall. No. If you want to contest the United States might, you have to get your armies and you have got to get your economic house in order. And many of us, as Black people, haven't got our economic house in order, and neither do we have a military to defend, or a world class. Some of us do have some military here and there, splinterings of military here and there, but we have not developed a world class military. We're more interested in bacchanal and partying and all of that stuff. And, you know, somebody asked me yesterday, I can't remember if it's this platform or Rumination News Network, asked me, you know, so will they be having carnival, you know, because of the war, drums being, you know, battled and drummed up? Okay, will we have carnival? Perhaps Trinidad will not have carnival next year. And I'm like, are you only thinking about carnival? Are you only thinking about carnival, or are you thinking about seriously formulating a relationship with Christ? Or are you just thinking about carnival? And I think that that's where we are now. It's all entertainment. So we have been gripped with this demand for entertainment, right? That we cannot think, we don't take things seriously anymore. So I see flights coming and going. Does not mean, therefore, that they can't stop tomorrow or the day after tomorrow or next Wednesday or next month. Okay? So don't tell me nonsense about what you're seeing when at the time when the ultimatum came about, when Trump decided that he wants to close down Venezuelan airspace. He should not have that right to. No president, no prime minister outside of Venezuela should have that right to close down somebody's airspace. That is out of order. And it also violates the principles of international law. But the United States no longer, as I've been saying to you guys for such a long time, no longer respects the principles of international law. She is law unto herself, and that is what all military empires do. That is what all military empires do. And we've got to understand that this is what it is. It is what it is. Okay? And I don't think that we have understood that yet. Okay? I don't think that we understand that very important point yet. But there was something today also that I forgot to have included in my first video, and I think that I might not have it on the screen here now. Let me see if I can get it to you. Yeah, the truth is the first casualty of war. The truth is the first casualty of war. And this was an article written in the Trinidad Express, Daily Express, and in which the author says the status of forces agreement between the United States and Trinidad and Tobago was first signed in 2007 under the People's National Movement, that's the PNM. It has been renewed several times in 2009, 2013, and 2024. Under both the PNM and UNC, there is no current expiration date. That is what he's saying. Now listen to what he's saying. One of the clauses or some of the clauses are. Number one, the exercise, but this one was, for example, the 2013 agreement stated inter alia that number one, in the exercise of its sovereignty, the government of Trinidad and Tobago waives its right to exercise criminal and civil jurisdiction over United States personnel for any actions when the United States determines that such acts were taken in the course of official duties. Second, vessels and aircraft owned or operated by the United States Department of Defense shall not be subject to the payment of landing, parking, or port fees, pilotage, charges, lighterage, or harbor duties or dues at facilities owned and operated by the government of Trinidad and Tobago. So what I'm saying here is that any damage done to anybody, harm, injury, could be even sexual assault, the United States will not be held accountable. A lot of the landing fees and immigration charges and all of that, the United States government will also not be held accountable. That all of these costs will have to be solved and dealt with by the Trinidadian government. Okay, so it means therefore that these people, you know, they're waging wars. It's not Trinidad's wars. It's not Tobagonians' wars. War with Venezuela, but yet still they're saying that we're not going to be held accountable. That is what the United States is doing. Now, who does that and get away with it? Which country would have the audacity, the temerity to go to a sovereign country, a so-called sovereign country, and tell them that they have to accept the cost of their bad behavior? Yeah? Whether the psychological cost, or the economic cost, or the physical cost. The government of Trinidad and Tobago will have to accept that, the cost of all of these things, because they will not be held accountable. And that is what we have to understand. So those of you who are thinking that, oh, the United States is just threatening and, you know, she don't take her seriously, I have news for you. Okay? Because you ought not to glorify in what she's doing, neither should you underestimate what she is doing, the power, the magnitude, the strength of the United States militarized empire. And this is what I am saying to you. And some of you are on the both sides of the extreme, where you think that it's not going to happen. No war is coming. How stupid can you be? Or, oh, the United States is going to protect us. It's going to shield us from what is going to happen to us from Nicolás Maduro and his authoritarian government. And that is a childish way to think. And it is also delusional at best. Okay? But that's how you think. That is how you think. And you do not desire to change because you think that that is so. Because you're so insecure, you feel so insecure, and you want someone who is a bully to protect you. But at what consequence? Right? And are they really protecting you, or are they controlling you? And when they ask you for what they desire, when they come to your house and they want your daughter or whatever, your son, what are you going to say? What are you going to say when they're going to tell you that we're here to protect you, so you have to give us the bounties of war? Okay? And this is what you've got to understand. This is a serious crisis that we are talking about. And for all of my Trinidadian and Tobagonians who are listening, You have to take this seriously. You've got to speak. You have to send this video out. You have to let them know that something is amiss here. And we've got to pray. We've got to pray now and ask the Lord to intervene, because the entire island could be just wiped off, or the majority. But we know that there's going to be serious damage, and it's not damage in an abstract manner. It's going to be real physical damage, not to mention the psychological damages that it's going to wreak. Okay? So this is what I want to say to you, and I hope that you're taking this thing seriously and you're not on either sides of the extreme, where you're glorifying the US military and her empire and the fact that she is the one to protect you from a so-called autocratic authoritarian regime in Venezuela. It is not going to happen. It is not going to happen. In fact, what is going to happen is going to be the inverse of what you think. That the region is going to be so destabilized that you'll have far more Venezuelan criminals and other criminals coming into Trinidad. Okay? And women, be very on guard and watch your daughters as well as your sons, because this is going to be something very serious. This is no joke. This is no joke. And many of you are taking it lightly. And that's the other side of the extreme, where you think, well, nothing's going to happen. You are an alarmist. You are, a channel of misinformation. Okay? And, oh, the skies are still clear. I can see clearly now, the rain is gone. And you sing and you dance and you think that everything is, I can see all obstacles in my way. Am I even singing the song right? We want to send our condolences to the singer, that's Jimmy Cliff, his family. All condolences to the recent passing of Jimmy Cliff, a Jamaican extraordinaire, great musician, great songs, and we really will miss, the world at large will miss him, but his musical legacy continues to reign. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, and remember now to like, to share, and subscribe. And tomorrow we look forward to another video. I'm going to do Vlogmas, so make sure that you watch the videos daily, you comment, so we can build this channel. Because you know what happened? We need this channel now. Caribbean as well as Latin American citizens, this channel is very much needed at such a time like this, at such a time like what we're living in. Okay? See you after I've done this.